The film Dune is set in the year 10,191. Humans have discovered many secrets of the universe and are now traveling from planet to planet. Different planets have evolved into distinct nations, each governed by a single Padishah emperor, Shaddam Corino IV. The planets have houses with their own dukes, who in turn obey the dictates of the Emperor Shaddam. One of these worlds is Arrakis. It is a harsh desert planet that is the sole source of a rare chemical known as spice. Spice is an important ingredient that boosts human energy and is necessary for interstellar travel. Arrakis, despite its terrible conditions, is regarded as the most valuable planet in the known cosmos. As a result, the noble houses are eager to conquer the world. At the beginning of the film, Chani, an Arrakis native, narrates how the noble House Harkonnen has ruled them for a long time. The House Harkonnen is brutal to Arrakis inhabitants, but the poor indigenous are powerless to stop it because it is controlled by Emperor Shaddam. Chani also claims that House Harkonnen's men abruptly abandoned Arrakis. However, she is confident that the Emperor would send someone else to take their position and exploit their resources. The scenario shifts to another planet, Caladan, which is ruled by the House Atreides. The Prince of Atreides, Paul, awakens from a reoccurring dream. He has breakfast with his mother, Lady Jessica, who is also a member of the Bene Gesserit. Bene Gesserit is an exclusive sorority whose members possess exceptional physical and mental powers. Jessica thus has the ability to control people's minds. She has been teaching Paul about the organization's disciplines for a long time. Thus, Paul has the ability to see into the future, as well as other special abilities that he has yet to uncover. Leto, Paul's father and Duke of House Atreides, attends an important meeting with members of the Landsraad, the governmental organization that represents all noble houses. In the evening, everyone in Atreides greets the VIPs who have brought a message from Emperor Shaddam himself. The Emperor, who has lately expelled House Harkonnen from the Arrakis, wishes Atreides to succeed Harkonnen. He wants Leto and his warriors to be in charge of extracting spice from Arrakis. Duke Leto is wary about the situation but obeys the Emperor's demands. During the conference, Jessica spots a member of the Bene Gesserit group, Gaius Helen Mothium, staring at Paul.
I am smiling.
Them traveling all this.
Ascendant to the golden light, I stand before you as herald and as sister. The Emperor has immediately taken control of...
And sir, there is no faith that we...
The meeting concludes with Leto marking a seal with his ring, signifying that they would obey orders and travel to Arrakis. The following scene depicts Atreides' men ready to embark for Arrakis. Duncan, the troop's bravest soldier, is also Paul's close friend. Paul has been having visions concerning Duncan's death in Arrakis and is concerned. Duncan reassures him that he will be all right before departing for the planet to prepare for Paul and his family's arrival. The next scenario has Paul and his father Leto discussing numerous topics. Leto explains that he has no desire to obtain fortune from the spice. Instead, he intends to befriend the freemen, the people of Arrakis. Unlike the previous Duke, Harkonnen, he intends to treat the Fremen with dignity so that they can be a useful asset to Atreides. Later, Paul and his colleague Halleck engage in a duel. They wear a wrist device that generates a layer of protective force around their body. Halleck is concerned that they may be attacked by the jealous Harkonnen, so he advises Paul to exercise caution when they arrive on Arrakis. Elsewhere in the House of Harkonnen, the former ruler of Arrakis, Duke Baron and his rogue nephew Rabban, discuss their last ship leaving Arrakis, handing over the planet to the Atreides. Rabban mocks the Emperor for taking them from Arrakis and giving it to the Atreides, but he is astonished when Baron confesses that the Emperor is plotting the Atreides' demise because he is jealous of their growing popularity. The Emperor's aim is to assassinate Leto and all of his troops while they are mining spice in Arrakis. Back at the Caladan, Jessica wakes Paul up and takes him to the doctor for a checkup. Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mothium has learned of Paul's visions and wishes to determine whether he is the one they have been waiting for. She makes him put his hands on a box to test his impulse control, which he passes with great effort. After Mothium leaves, Jessica informs Paul that Bene Gesserit, a female group, has been driving politics from the shadows for years. They also meticulously cross lineages in order to give birth to the one guy capable of saving Arrakis from spice exploitation. The test Paul just passed reveals him to be the one they've been seeking for, the Messiah of Arrakis. The next day, Leto, Paul, Jessica, and their men depart for Arrakis and arrive on the planet. The native Fremen embrace them, having already been taught that Paul is their Messiah, despite Paul's belief that this is a superstition. Later, he sits in his chamber, learning about the huge sandworm discovered in Arrakis. To avoid it, the Freemen move in random patterns in the sand. As Paul observes the holograms, a dangerous insect erupts from a wall and attempts to kill him, but Paul saves himself at the appropriate moment. After an investigation, it is discovered that a Harkonnen soldier has been hidden in the walls with the intention of killing Paul. The scene changes to Baron meeting Movium. She is aware of the Emperor and Baron's plan to assault the Trides, but she is powerless to intervene because the Emperor has given the order. However, she requests that Baron not kill Jessica and Paul. Baron agrees to do what she says, but he intends to throw the two in the sand for the sandworms to destroy. Back on Arrakis, officials have a conference to discuss their plans for mining the spices. It is revealed that the Harkonnens abandoned them with broken equipment, setting them up for disaster. After a while, Paul rejoins Duncan, who had been instructed to prepare for their arrival. Duncan claims to have been living among the Fremen in the desert for 4 weeks. He tells them about their survival strategies as well as a Fremen community known as Sietch and its leader Stilgar. Stilgar has also arrived to meet Leto. Leto invites him to collaborate with the Atreides, but Stilgar dismisses him for taking from their territory with no return to the people of their region. They part on a positive note after Leto vows never to harm the Sietches. The following day, Leto and his colleagues travel to investigate the spice sand that they would be mining. They encounter a Freeman and an Imperial environmentalist named Dr. Leek Kynes. She examines the integrity of Leto's sand suit, which is designed to recycle perspiration and urine from the body into drinking water. While inspecting Paul's suit, Kynes sees that, despite this being his first time wearing the suit, he is familiar with Fremen's methods of wearing it. This reminds her of a prophecy that promises their savior will understand their way of life despite being from another country. Kynes also believes Paul is the one. Following that, they all leave to investigate the spice sand. While sightseeing, they notice 2 sandworms approaching a harvester that mines the spice. It appears to be a common problem, as a carrier is dispatched to move the harvester out of the worm's reach. However, the carrier's anchor breaks, rendering it unable to carry the equipment. A crew of 21 is inside the harvester and about to be attacked by the worms. Leto thinks quickly and asks everyone to bring their aircraft closer to the device and load the crew on board. They land on the sand minutes before the worm hits, sticking the crew. However, Paul has a vision after smelling spices.
Yes, Gurney, have our S back of the thopter. Guide them in.
When he returns home, he is still dizzy, so the doctor diagnoses it as an allergy. However, Paul swears that he saw a Fremen girl in his vision, and he is certain that it was not just an allergy. He also informs Jessica that she is pregnant, but she dismisses it. The action then moves to the Imperial Army world, where a battalion is preparing to attack Atreides and murder Leto and his family. They are known as the Army of Sajukar and are thought to be the deadliest army in the known world. Back on Arrakis, the doctor brings Paul some medication to treat him with his allergies, but little does Paul realize that the doctor has made a deal with Baron, and the drug will render him unconscious. Leto and Jessica are also given sleep medications. Jessica takes it, but Leto does not. After a while, the army of Sajukar strikes them. Leto awakens and knows what has happened, but before he can do anything, the doctor strikes him with a dart, gradually rendering him comatose. Outside, the Sajukar force wreaks devastation, taking the Atreides army by surprise. The Sajukar quickly defeat the Atreides due to their double number and multiple weaponry. At the same time, the doctor informs an injured Leto that Baron has stolen his wife, so he must do as he says. The doctor then takes off Leto's ring and hands it to Paul. He also places a lethal molar tooth in Leto's mouth, claiming that if he bites hard enough, the tooth would release a secret harmful gas that will kill everyone nearby. Meanwhile, the Sajukar army kidnaps Paul and Jessica and throws them into the sand. Paul wakes up in an airplane with his mother bound and tied next to him. She can use her power to control others and force them to do what she says, so the two employ their abilities and slay their kidnappers. Paul discovers a front kit left by the doctor for their assistance. Following that, they flee into the desert. In the meantime, an unconscious Leto is brought before Baron and stripped naked. The doctor asks Baron to release his wife, but he is brutally murdered instead.
Dr. Yue.
Jim, there comes. I deliver the Duke and...
And what was I to do? I said I'd set her free.
Baron then informs Leto that his bloodline will cease today. Seeing no way out, Leto cuts his teeth and exhales a deadly gas that kills everyone in the room, including himself. Paul and Jessica use the supplies to erect a tent elsewhere. They also discover a note from the doctor and Leto's ring. Looking at the ring, the two understand Leto has died and cry in sadness. The next morning, Duncan approaches Kynes, a Fremen imperial ecologist, and requests her assistance in finding Paul and Jessica. After the deadly gas is dissipated, his soldier enters the room at Baron's palace. They are shocked to realize Baron has hooked himself to the ceiling and is apparently secure. At the same time, Paul becomes high on the spice in the sand and begins to have visions of the impending holy war. He sees himself killing millions of people, which causes him to hyperventilate. Jessica, concerned, tries to reassure her son. Later, he wears his father's ring and assumes the title of Duke of Atrides. Duncan quickly finds them and kneels in front of Paul, addressing him as the Lord Duke. Kynes then takes all three of them to a safe spot. They are staying at an abandoned ecological station that was designed to deliver flowing water to Arrakis. If the project had been completed successfully, Arrakis would have been a paradise. However, before the job was done, the spice was found in the sand. Everyone's attention was drawn to harvesting the valuable spice, and the initiative was cancelled. A bit later, the Sajukar army enters the protected zone and attacks everyone. Duncan risked his life to save Jessica and Paul. Paul yells at him to stop because he has seen Duncan's death in his vision, but Duncan remains stationary to complete his mission. Eventually, he is killed while fighting the troops, but Jessica, Paul, and Kynes escape. Jessica and Paul board an aircraft that can only accommodate 2 people. Meanwhile, Kynes instructs them to travel south to meet the Fremen, who will assist them in their cause. She intends to board an aircraft from another station. The mother and son fly away, but Kynes is quickly apprehended by Sajukar forces. They are going to execute her when she begins rhythmic banging on the ground. The ruckus draws a sandworm, who kills them all at once. Following that, 2 hostile planes pursue Paul's aircraft. Paul drives their truck into a violent sandstorm, leading their attackers to believe they have died. The following scene depicts Baron soaking in remedies to cure the injuries inflicted by the deadly gas. His nephew Rabin arrives and informs him that Leto and his bloodline have died. Finally satisfied that his enemy's house has been demolished, Baron instructs Rabin to continue harvesting the spice and killing all the Fremen. Paul and Jessica crash land in the desert, but are unharmed. They put on the desert outfit and go looking for the Fremen to ask for assistance. Paul has learned about Fremen's lives and how they move to avoid attracting worms. They walk all day, and Paul has images of Fremen people and a specific girl imploring him not to give up. The two pause to rest for a moment when they hear a loud noise. Paul notices that a sandworm is nearby. To save their lives, they begin to flee, only to be pursued by the worm even faster. It emerges from the sand and is about to swallow the two before stopping in the middle. Someone had set off a thumper to assist them. Just then, the leader of the Fremen, Stilgar, and his followers encircle them. It is quickly clear that they intend to kill Paul and Jessica for the fluids in their bodies. Stilgar stops his troops, claiming that Paul is the Messiah they have been informed about. The others do not trust him, claiming that Paul has not yet proven himself and so cannot be the Messiah. One of them insults Jessica, calling her elderly and weak. She proves herself by holding the man prisoner, putting his life in her hands. After that, the commander directs everyone to the Sietch Tabor, where Paul and Jessica's fate would be decided. Just suddenly, the girl from Paul's visions appears in front of him, introducing herself as Chani. As they prepare to leave, one Fremen named Jameis insists on a duel with Paul. In Fremen tradition, all duels must end in death. Paul, who has been practicing his entire life, easily defeats Jameis, but he is hesitant to murder him because he has never killed anyone. Finally, Paul stabs the man to death, winning the fight. The others then pack the dead body and head to the Sietch Tabor. The film concludes when Paul sees a man riding a giant sandworm, and Chani warns him that this is merely the beginning. The film's ending clearly indicates that there will be much more in the sequels. So what did you think of the movie? Leave it in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.